What's up, folks? A little bit different scenery this time, but I wanted to take the chance to finally talk about the NOAA certification code system, whatever you want to call it, that we are building these tiny homes to. What that stands for is the National Organization of Alternate Housing. Basically, what that is, as far as I can understand, is that we've got all these housing codes that homes are built to across the country. Codes are different kind of everywhere you go based on what kind of elements those homes are going to have to endure. In windier areas, they require a lot more of your hurricane ties and your strengthening and your framing and your roofing and stuff like that. Colder areas require more insulation in your floors, ceilings, walls. There's just more requirements. And there's a whole, it's almost unlimited on things that are required by these codes. What NOAA is an association that works nationwide. So they're kind of encompassing all different areas of the codes. It leans on traditional housing codes, and it also leans on RV building or mobile home building codes as well. So they've kind of taken all those things and combined them into a certification program for tiny homes, because tiny homes are becoming more prevalent, and there's just a lot of things that are different. A lot of them are built like we're doing, traditionally stick built, a lot like a normal home, but you do wind up with some other things in there, like we've talked about, bolting it to the trailer, different shear strength requirements. There are things like putting liquid nails behind your sheathing, in between your sheathing and your studs, that's going to make that a lot stronger. And what this code basically does is separates your certified tiny home on wheels from just something that some guy built on a trailer. And the reason you want to do that is if you want to get these things insured or you want to sell them. The reason that we're doing it is going to save us some on insurance, but the main reason we're doing it is as a contingency. We're not planning on selling these tiny homes. We're planning on putting them up there and renting them for, as long as we can, maybe sell them one day, but it's not really in the plans to sell them before they've kind of paid themselves off. The reason that we're building to code is if something happens and we're not getting the numbers we want, for some reason they're not renting, if we decide to change course at any time, we do have these homes built certified so that when we go to sell them, it's going to be a lot easier for somebody to get a lender to give them money for that. Like I said, a bank is going to look at it and go, okay, you've got a certified home on wheels here. We will lend you money for that, versus this is just some guy who's not a builder by profession who built a house onto a trailer. How do we know that it's even worth what you're saying that it's worth? Well, they don't. And there's no way to know how it's built, whether you took the necessary precautions, whether your doors and windows are installed properly, whether you're airtight. It's just kind of a DIY trailer home, and they're not going to lend based on that. That's the main reason we're doing it. I'm not going to cover too much of what they cover in this video, but throughout my other videos, I do point out the things that the NOAA certification requires that your traditional home code or what you're kind of used to may not require. Things like bolting your frame down to your trailer, things like your power disconnects and your water disconnects that are going to be built such that you can disconnect this thing and drive it down the road if you need to. Talked about a lot of it in the framing video. Like I said, that liquid nails behind the sheathing is a big one that they require. There are a lot more hurricane ties required that are tying your rafters to your top plate and your top plate to your studs, and then all the way down until you're bolted to the trailer. It's pretty cool how the inspections work. So the way they do it, everything is virtual. So you get on, you'll get your membership, they'll provide you with the codes and stuff, and then you've got multiple inspections through your build process. You've got your trailer inspection. That's going to be your trailer and your insulation. Make sure your trailer's got all your lights and stuff like that. Your insulation within your trailer, in your subfloor, you've got those inspections. Then you'll have your framing inspection, which inspects the overall framing. That's going to look at things like how it's tied to the trailer. Do you have proper thicknesses on your headers? And then you're going to get around to your plumbing, electrical, your sheathing, all that kind of happens. Depends on what order you do it in. They're pretty flexible on if you want to do this now, you can go ahead and do that and inspect it before you cover it up. They're pretty flexible on everything like that. So then you're going to have your plumbing and electrical rough-in inspections. Then you can go in and put in all your insulation. Then you'll do your insulation inspection. And then after that is your final inspection, when everything is kind of buttoned up and you've got all your electrical in there. You've got power, you've got water. On your plumbing rough-in inspection, you are going to do a pressure test. So you're going to pressure test the entire system at the plumbing rough-in as well as at that final inspection. There's a lot of stuff I skipped over there, but that's kind of general overview of their 5 stages of inspection. The way they do the inspections, when you get ready, say you get your rough-in plumbing and electrical done and you're ready for inspection, you'll just go into their portal and sign in and reserve an inspection time. You can reserve it as soon as 24 hours in advance. So say I'm done today at 3 o'clock. I can go in and schedule that inspection for 3 o'clock tomorrow, and then we will have that inspection. And the way they do those, it's all virtual. So they've got an app-based system where you basically FaceTime with them. You're videoing the whole thing, and they're going to tell you what to look at, what to point out, answer any questions that they have. And the whole time they're taking screenshots of this video and logging those with your inspection. So it's a really handy process. The folks, everybody I've worked with has been great. They're very good about, you can call them at any time and say, hey, I'm looking at running this circuit over here. Is that okay? Or do I need to split that up into 2? Any kind of questions like that, they've been more than happy to answer. They're very available and easy to work with. So it is a pretty smooth process. Obviously, it's a little bit more hassle than if you just built it yourself to no inspection. But what that inspection is going to do is make sure that you build it right. I didn't really mention that before, but that's another reason we're having these inspected, the first ones, is so that we can kind of learn how to do everything the right way, and it kind of twists your arm to force you to do it the right way. If you're having them inspected, it's a lot harder to take those shortcuts and stuff that you might decide to do if you're just building something for yourself. There's a lot of things you may look at and go, well, in our application, that's not going to matter. It doesn't matter if we do that or not. You're going to be a lot more likely to do that if you don't have somebody coming behind you and inspecting it. So one of the things, that's another reason that we're inspecting them, at least on these first 2. And after we get the first 2 up there, we'll have a lot better idea of how they're going to perform from a rental standpoint. How many tenants we're going to have, our percentage of occupancy. Going forward, we may not have the next 3 inspected. If we get these 2 up there and they're performing well, and it looks like if we put a couple more up there, they're going to perform just as well, then we probably will not go through the inspection process on the next 3 just to save the money. The membership for multiple homes is about $2,500 a year, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot, but it's real money. What we'll probably do, assuming the first 2 rent out well and we're happy with how they're performing, we will not have the next 3 inspected, but we will still build them exactly the same way. Now that we've built 2, well, they're not done yet, but once we're done, now that we've built 2 to inspection and passed all of our inspections and built everything properly, we're just going to do the exact same thing on the next 3, but skip that inspection process just to save the money. And it makes things go a little bit more fluid if you're not having to think about your start-stop points in between inspections and stuff like that. I think that's about all I got. Overall, it's a really cool thing. You don't really have inspectors who you don't know. You kind of get to know everybody through asking them questions, and they're very helpful. So it's good to kind of have a friend in there, and it seems like sounds kind of cheesy, but it seems like everybody's really been that way. I've got personal cells of inspectors, and I call them at any time, really during reasonable hours, and they're always ready to help me out. So it's a really cool thing. They make it as easy as it can be. I can't imagine it being much easier other than if you just didn't do it. So definitely hit me with some questions. I know there's just a lot of information to cover around that, and I don't see a real need to tell you all of it. You're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it if you decide to do so yourself. If you do have any questions that pop out, just certainly let us know, and happy to go through those in the comments and discuss as usual. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Just for a little update on the tiny homes themselves, we've got both of them completely roughed in, plumbing and electrical. We had an inspection last week on both of them, but we had a few things. We had a couple issues. We didn't get the water pressure we wanted from the road, so we couldn't do our pressure test. Small stuff like putting fireproof foam in your top plate penetrations. And there were a couple other small things that we've gone back and buttoned up, and we're going to do that follow-up inspection tomorrow. So provided that that buttons everything up on our rough ends, we will have spray foam coming in hopefully this week to get the spray foam in. And then from that point, it's just a matter of doing our exterior siding, our drywall inside, and our flooring. And then everything else inside, you know, all your cabinetry, your fixtures, your appliances, all that stuff. So we're getting into the short rows. I don't think we're too far off from carrying these things up the mountain and putting them in place. And of course, at that time, we're gonna have to get our septic tanks in and get our decks built. But we're certainly getting into the short rows on these things. It's really exciting seeing them come together. On one unit, we've got all the doors and windows in. And on the other unit, we've got everything in except for the French doors, the big doors on the front. We ran into kind of a problem. We bought some French doors that weren't really up to snuff. You'll hear a lot of people talk about French doors and tell you if you're not willing to pay a little bit more than baseline on them, you're probably going to run into some problems. And that's exactly what it was. So we decided to go a different route on that one. We're going to put a sliding door in. We've got that ordered. But all the doors and windows are in except for one door on one unit. They're starting to look like houses. It's pretty exciting. So right after I get done filming this, I'm going to go through and do the plumbing and electrical rough end video where I'll show you all that. You'll see where everything is, and we'll talk about the finer points of those rough ends. As far as the site work goes, they are up there right now digging all the trenching and laying all the line for our power lines. We're running underground from the power line that's on the property. We're going to run underground and split off and go underground to each home. Same with the water lines from our well. We will run underground and run to the homes. So around the homes, we're not going to have anything up high. That was just kind of something we wanted to maintain the ambiance, the nature, you know, around the homes. So we're certainly moving. Like I said, we are in the short rows. This is becoming a real thing. Our original goal was to have these things renting by the end of the year. Now it looks like more like the end of February, which, you know, a 2-month schedule slip on something that going into it, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a good idea of how long any of this stuff was going to take. I'm not upset about a 2-month schedule slip. I'm pretty happy about that. Hopefully we can maintain that. Here towards the end is when all the unknowns start to pop up. You're drilling your well, that's a huge unknown because you don't know what kind of water supply you're going to get from the well. Things like all that site work that they're doing that I just talked about, you don't really know how much that's going to cost. It's different on a case-by-case basis, and you really just don't know until you get somebody up there. You know exactly what you're going to do, and they can get you a quote for that. So we are running over budget a little bit. It looks like in the grand scheme, overall scale, we should not be over more than 10%. So a 10% budget overrun and a 2-month schedule slip. Considering, like I said, we didn't really know much about anything whenever we got this started. We're pretty excited about those things. I'm happy with the progress. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and wrap this one. Like I said, if y'all got any questions, definitely let us know. Highly recommend the NOAA certification process. Even if you're using the tiny homes for yourselves, it is a good idea to do because it's going to keep you honest. It's going to bring to light things that you didn't really know were necessary. And it's also going to keep you honest when you want to cut a corner. If you're just flat out not allowed to, you're going to have a better product in the end. So highly recommend it. If you've got any questions about the process, shoot them out, reach out to me. If you've got any questions about the process, reach out to them. It's noaacertified.org is their website. We'll have that in the bio and everything. But they're more than happy to answer any questions you have, and as am I, provided I can answer those. But certainly we can track down the answers for you. So y'all have a great day. Look forward to the plumbing and electrical rough-in inspection. These videos or not the inspection, but the plumbing and electrical rough-in video. These two may get released at the same time. I don't know. But Y'all keep doing it. Have a good day. Finger guns. I don't know how to wrap these things up, so it's wrapped.